right, welcome back in. Hour number 2 of Pirate Radio Live. Busy show on this Wednesday. Patrick Mason, Daily Reflector, going to join us coming up later on in hour number 2. Hour 3, Justin Bear from ECU Marketing and Holton Ahlers from Texas will be joining us ahead of another Arlington Renegades game. Hey, we got some interns that showed up as well. Zach and Delaney are here. Hey, guys and gals, because they will be heading out to ECU Baseball coming up today as the Pirates back in action against Old Dominion, and we'll talk some Pirate baseball kind of on the field, but also off the field right now with Bethany Bradsher, who joins us in the Pirate Radio studios. Bethany, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Clip. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate you joining us. And the new book is Never Take This for Granted, Around the Diamond with college baseball's most devoted fan base. And the book I am holding in my hand right now, one of you will be holding it in your hand soon because we're going to put this in our Win It Wednesday prize pack for next week. So we'll be giving away an autographed copy of Never Take This for Granted by Bethany Bradsher. So Bethany, first of all, can we I don't know if I've asked you about your history. So you have written a lot of books. We've talked about them here on the show, but when did you become interested in this, especially the sports part of it?
Well, always, really. I mean, I was my yearbook sports editor in the 80s, so let's kick it way back. And then did sports writing through college, but for a little while I was in the newspaper business and news because that was just where the jobs were. And then I entered back into sports writing as a newspaper reporter in the mid-90s. I got to cover the Carolina Panthers and Wofford College and a lot of cool stuff. I was down in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we moved up here to Greenville in 99, and I've been freelancing ever since. But started out as articles. I covered a lot of East Carolina for newspapers, the AP, and that kind of thing. And then over time, I started to move into writing books as my kids got a little older, and I could write more at a time. And so my first book was Coaching Third, the Keith LeClaire story that came out in 2010, and this is my 16th. So there's 14 books in between. Quite a few, more than half of those have been collaborative or ghostwritten books that other people have hired me to write, and 5 of them have been my own books, which this is in that category. This is obviously something I wanted to write. It's a passion project. Yeah,
and this one, it's great. It's got so many great stories in it, so many recognizable names if you are an ECU baseball fan or somebody in this area, certainly. And I love the fan aspect of ECU baseball, the family atmosphere. Being of all the football games I've gone to and the great nights in Minji, something about those regionals and the super regional weekend against Texas, those are just so special for the players, for the coaches, but really the families, the fans, the supporters, and you kind of dive into a lot of that in this.
Absolutely. And I've never written a book that I've had such a personal stake in because I'm a fan too.
Yeah.
And I tell the story in the introduction, being in the jungle in 2009 when the Pirates beat South Carolina in the final game of that regional. And I had 3 of my kids with me, and we didn't even know to bring a chair. We were standing by a trash can, and they weren't doing their homework. And, it was just this beautiful moment of, I'm never going to miss this again. This is something special. And for the first, I guess, decade I lived here, I didn't experience it quite to that degree because I had a lot of little kids. And now I know better. And since then, I have really been just a fan and started to realize this atmosphere is something special, and people don't understand it. Outside of the ones that are out there, what makes it unique. So that was kind of what drove me. And
your job is to put it into words. Could the legends, Charlie Brown and Charlie Martin and the Dill Days and the Plumbers, you talked to all of them. Were they able to put it in the words what ECU baseball means to them? Because it's not. It's they want to see their team win, but it's about experiencing it with your family and loved ones and friends and all that.
Yeah, they sure were. And there's so many kids. I mean, Tony Brown's daughter, Leslie, is one of my best friends in town and has been the whole time we've lived here. She was my babysitter. So I literally have seen the multiple generations. Now her kids are out there, and you see these 3 generations out at the same time out in the jungle. You see kids who one spring they're the size to stand on the bench in left field, and the next spring they come back and they're too tall for the bench. And someone has to go tell them, hey, you can't stand up there anymore because no one can see. And so it's been really neat to see that, and Corinne Dilday talked about being out there with a baby strapped on and, having a baby shower one time, and they had to have purple for a boy and gold for a girl, or I may have had that reversed because they were playing Carolina and no blue could be seen anywhere. So the gender reveal was not going to involve blue, no matter what kind of baby they were having. So there's so many great stories in those families that, they're so close, and when the season rolls around, they know they're going to see each other, 2-3 times a week, and it's really cool to kind of have gotten to be part of that community.
No doubt. Talking to Bethany Bradsher, Never Take This for Granted is the new book, and Tony Brown's wife, by the way, I believe it's Paula. Miss Brown was my second grade teacher.
Wow.
All those years ago.
She's responsible.
I can't believe that she married that crazy man, but then again,
she's amazing.
Yeah, awesome, just awesome people, and I love those stories. I love that Colin Donnelly is a part of this book, who was the pitcher from Quinnipiac. Mm-hmm. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah,
I used to have to say.
Yeah.
I interacted with him via DMs during the week because he was talking. He said, "I am the jungle," famously,
yes,
and
yes.
I don't even know. I felt kind of bad about this, but he DM'd me and said, "Hey," because he knew I would be up in the press box. He was like, "If I come in, can you get him to play Welcome to the Jungle?" And I was like, should I do this? They're playing against East Carolina. Ooh. And I did tell the marketing person, I was like, I have this request. Do with it what you want to. And they actually played it when he came in that first game. And I felt really bad because the Pirates lost that game, but they did come back to win that regional. But man, this stories like that, so much fun.
Yeah, everybody thinks they're responsible. I mean, when I wrote in the final chapter of the book, I wrote about that Texas Super Regional and that Saturday game where everything went wrong after everything going right. And I have a theory about how I was responsible for that turn of events, and I think everybody else has one too. Mine was I slipped out of the game to go to a bridal shower for 10 minutes.
Bad form.
And I really think I did it, but everybody kind of knows. And as I was writing it, I still remember the feeling like my heart rate was elevated because that day was so tragic, and it's still not easy to talk about. And everybody I interviewed, it felt like that came up, but it was like, it's like he that should not be named, the game that shall not be discussed. But, it does speak to just the passion and how excited and how hopeful, as I write about in the book, this fan base remains and how close we were. So there's always, man is right.
Multiple times heard Cliff on a recent show talking about how close they were in Lubbock those years ago.
And it's interesting. I have a couple stories about that. I interviewed Brady Lloyd and Cliff talked to me about it. And so that was another time that people can just remember the feeling of, this is happening. This is happening.
How many people, whether it be fans, coaches, past players, did you talk to?
It was about 50.
Yeah. Cool.
And one of my favorite things about it is a lot of these are my actual friends that I've known for 20 plus years. I've never written a book where I've interviewed so many of my pre-existing friends. I just had a great time. So fun to be able to tell some of their stories. And then I've made new friends through the process as well. But, just tried to really hit, the book is arranged around the baseball field. And so, there's a lot of jungle in there because obviously there's some great jungle stories, but it's also plenty of amazing fans in the stands. Todd Howell, Mike Radford, Chu Justice, fans that are loud and vocal who sit all around and try to really make sure that we drove home the point that there are amazing Pirate baseball fans in all corners of Clark LeClaire.
True Justice, amazing person as well, he and his family. I do love how you go around the horn with it as well. You're in left field, you're in the, what about the rowdy right field?
Rowdy right field. Yeah. Well, I interviewed Deontay Johnson, which
that was cool.
That was tons of fun, and it was the media relations people at ECU were so kind because it was not in a real happy moment of the football season when I reached out, and they were like, "Sure, as long as you're not talking about football." I was like, "No problem. I don't want to talk about football." Yeah. And so he was so nice, and I love to see those guys out there, and there's some fun stories about the reactions that he's gotten. Out and right.
Never Take This for Granted is the book by Bethany Bradsher. Steve Hill previously worked at Barnes & Noble. He said Bethany did a book signing with us for Coaching Third. Great author and person. So that's nice to hear.
Very nice. They've been great to me.
And I'm sure a lot of you have Coaching Third. If not, can people still get Coaching Third?
They can. Actually, they have copies at UBE. We restocked recently, so that's a great place to go. They may have it at Barnes & Noble, and there's always Amazon or my house, if you know what.
How about this new one, Bethany? Never Take This for Granted. How can people get this one, and when can people get this?
Good question. So it's available for pre-order now through the 18th, which is a week next Wednesday, right? Through the 18th, available for pre-order at ECUBaseballbook.com. If you pre-order, then you'll be eligible to win a prize package, which includes a powder purple jersey signed by Carter Cunningham, 2 signed copies of my 2 ECU books, and a Parker Bird trading card signed by Parker.
Wow.
So it's a great little prize package, and all you have to do to be eligible is pre-order. So that's happening, and then starting the 19th, it'll be at Kaufman's Menswear, UBE, Dowdy Student Stores, and probably Barnes & Noble. It will be there, whether or not it's on the 19th. We're still working that out. But I have a number of different book signings the weekend of the launch, and all that will be up there on my website, ECUBaseballbook.com.
All right, there you go, ECUBaseballbook.com. Jamie asks, has Bethany ever caught a foul ball or gotten a home run ball?
I have not, although they've landed right in front of me a number of times.
Speaking
so
of,
a good question.
Yeah, home run balls, Bristol Carter hit his first last night, and I believe Miss Dilday said her son got that ball and would definitely be returning it to Bristol for his first.
I saw a video of Bubba getting that ball, and it seemed just perfectly appropriate. So
no doubt.
Yeah. The funny thing is when I was very young, we lived in Cleveland, Ohio, until I was 8, and we used to go to Indians games, and my parents still tell how terrified I was of getting hit by a foul, that I was just cowering the whole time. So I guess I've grown up a little bit since those days.
I have I've been very negative towards ECU fans for not catching foul balls and hearing that loud thud on the aluminum in the stands. But I would like to see what I would do if I was in that situation. Right. And would I be as brave as I tell people they should be?
That's a really good question. You're going to have to do some self-examination.
There you go. So, Bethany, are you a Cleveland sports fan?
No. I grew up really in Houston. We moved to Houston when I was 8, and I lived there until high school graduation. So, pro sports, I'm more of a Houston fan.
Okay, fair enough. You got a good quarterback and a new receiver there if you root for the Texans.
Yeah.
All right, well, Bethany, I hate doing this because this is like when Dan Hurley wins. You're like, all right, what about next year? So, what's the next book? Like, I want you to get through this one, but what's the next one?
Great. I don't know for sure in terms of books I'm doing myself. I am working on a couple of ghostwriting books, projects where, if somebody wants me to write a book for them. One of those is about women in corporate America. Woohoo. But it's a lot of fun. I'm doing that with a high school friend from Houston and have a couple other irons in the fire at the moment around ghostwriting. But I'm always looking for a great story to tell. So hit me up.
Yeah.
Someone thinks of something. Going back to the Dixie Classic, which is a book I published in 2011. Mm-hmm. That was just a conversation with a friend who said, I don't think anyone's ever told this story, and it's still one of my favorite books I've ever written.
We had you on to talk about that one, and boy, NC State making a run. That a lot of old Wolfpack fans came out of the woodwork for that had been sitting dormant for years, I guess, with nothing to cheer about. So,
long suffering.
But it does. When you see that, you start to see Jimmy V, and then I had ran into a family friend at AJ's last Wednesday. She was telling me how she wrote Norm Sloan a letter because a local kid was not getting enough playing time, and Norm Sloan actually wrote her back. Oh, wow. And I was like, nothing cool like that happens these days. I guess social media, a coach will interact, but like that, I thought that was a pretty neat story.
That's a neat story. Yeah.
Well, Bethany, once again, how can folks get this? We'll wrap it up with that.
Yeah, we'll just go to ECUBaseballbook.com, and we'll have all the retailers there. You can pre-order now, and if you want to pick up your book on Saturday the 20th, you can pick that up at Kaufman's if you pre-order, or we'll put it in the mail to you. So.
And one Pirate fan will be winning this very book next week on Win It Wednesday, an autographed copy of Never Take This for Granted, Around the Diamond with college baseball's most devoted fan base by Bethany Bradsher. Bethany, thank you for joining us today, and we'll talk to you. We can talk to you when you write your next one, or if you want to just hang out and talk sports. Let me know.
Anytime I can come by. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Bethany Bradsher joining us today on Pirate Radio Live.